Hey guys, Gina here. I'm joined by Linda.
Hey.
So when we get some people on, we'll see if they can hear us pretty good. I actually forgot my microphone today. Um, so it's Friday, not a whole lot going on, I guess. We did hear the announcements today that I guess you can, you can have, you can go to restaurants now. They're like 33% capacity. Outdoors are open, so that's kind of nice. And then, of course, groups of 10 or less.
I think so.
Yeah, 10 or less because it's like Memorial Day weekend. So it's Memorial Day weekend. I guess you can go out to parks and have your parties and stuff, but they still expect you to be like 6 feet apart.
Which we are.
Yeah, which we are right now, by the way. But I was like driving through Meyer parking lot, and like there's a whole big side of the parking lot where like they're building stuff, and like there were groups of people like sitting out like in their cars with tables and stuff.
Like you ratting people out.
I know. I just wonder what they're doing.
Dirty rat.
I'm not ratting people out. I'm just saying, like,
At least you haven't called Andy yet over it.
No, I would never do that. I just wonder what they're doing. Like, I guess people are like, that's how they, like, you sit in your car and I sit in my car in a parking lot, and that's how people are getting together. So that's kind of neat. I would have never thought to have done that. But anyways, so now I guess you're not gonna have to do that. You're actually gonna be allowed to go to the park and get together as long as you stay 6 feet apart from people who are not in your own household. Down here in Richmond, we actually like Linda's turned me on to like some drama where you can go to like the Richmond KY Facebook and people are like ratting people out constantly.
It's very entertaining.
It is. So apparently somebody at Meyer in Richmond has it and they're keeping it hush hush.
Meyer's not telling anybody apparently. But it always has like pictures of people talking about look at all these people lined up going into Lowe's, and then the picture's taken as they're walking out of Lowe's, and it'll be like 10 comments down that somebody's commented that wait a second, aren't you taking that from the front door? It's great. It's very entertaining.
Shady motherfuckers. Let me see if I can't find this link here. I'm gonna post the link. See if I can't find it. I think I've got it right here. I'm gonna post the link if you'd like to join us. I'm gonna post the link on the comments. So if you have something that you want to talk about, otherwise it'll be a short and sweet episode today. Not a whole lot going on other than the new announcements were made for what's going on. For me, still the very frustrating part is fucking June 1st is the opening date. Well, are we 10 days away?
Yeah, well, less than that now.
Yeah, and they won't release the guidelines. It's like, I have 10 days to get this 3,000 square foot facility ready for people, and that's very frustrating. I have been looking at other stuff that they're releasing, though, so like they released bowling alleys and aquatic centers, which I'm sure you're happy about for swimming. They've released the info for bowling alleys and aquatic centers, and across the board, they're saying like 33% of your capacity, not including your instructors. So I think that's very exciting because for us, like at 3,000 square feet, that's what 16 to 8. Well, he's got his headphones in. My husband. I'm just talking out in the air. 3,000 square feet is 33% capacity is what, like 16 people?
3,000 square feet divided by 60.
Divided by 60.
Total.
That's your
total occupancy.
Okay, that's your total occupancy.
Yeah, 30%, like 16 people.
16 people. Like we can have 16 people, not including instructors. So like that's kind of cool. Like now that's what everybody else is doing. I'm assuming fitness facilities will kind of be the same thing. So that's manageable. I think that we'll be able to do that. I don't know.
Something I saw pop out on Facebook yesterday that was really cool. If you haven't seen it on the Bluegrass Women's Jiu Jitsu page or by some of your friends active in Jiu Jitsu, is that several of our leaders in the community got together and put up a petition for saving Kentucky Jiu Jitsu. So get on there, and if you agree with it, go ahead and sign it for everybody. They put out a pretty cool YouTube video, and it's a lot of cool people supporting jiu-jitsu, and I'm pretty grateful to our leaders in the community for standing up for something that all of us love, and I appreciate them for it. So look for that.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that a little bit too because, Scott and I were a part of that. So if you haven't seen it, we got together. Obviously, Rolando Haddad at Core Combat Sports, he has been one of the only people to get cited. If you don't know the backstory, basically what happened is which I thought we were supposed to be able to do, he was just going in with his son, who I don't know, he might live with him. But regardless, he was going in with his son and filming content for their Core Combat Pro. So, one of my gripes is like through all this thing, they're like, you should, don't go out. You should be working out with people like on online training and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I can do that. Okay, I can manage that. But then like here they are trying to take care of their members, filming content for their members because they have a curriculum. And so that's all they were doing in there. He had also set up a PPE donation center in the front of his building. And somebody, we don't have the snitch list. I know sometimes people are sensitive about calling it a snitch list, but like that's the accepted.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's what it is. Snitch list.
That's the accepted terminology, I think, across the board. We all know what I'm talking about. They haven't released a snitch list here in Kentucky, so we don't know who called on him, but somebody called and reported him for operating his business, which he was not. He closed a week before the gyms were asked to. He closed early, and he wasn't allowing members in. He was only filming online content. He had a donation PPE station set up outside his building. You didn't even have to go in to donate, like with masks and stuff like that. And somebody reported him for operating his business. The issue and why it does feel so snitchy, if people are kind of maybe sensitive about why you'd use that word. The reason it feels so snitchy is because they come in and they cite you, and they don't give you the opportunity really to defend yourself. It's just, nope, somebody says you were doing it, and that's all there is to it. And I don't agree with that. I think it's total bullshit.
Yes, especially because to this day, even last week I was talking with a friend who trains at a different gym, and they're still filming online content at their gym. Lots of gyms are doing it, and there's nothing wrong with it. If they're clean, they're the only ones there. They're by themselves. They're the only ones that have been in the gym. So my problem is that he wasn't doing anything that people weren't doing then and aren't continuing to do. Yeah. It's just that somebody decided that he was going to get snitched on, and that he had to stop doing it. And I think that's wrong. That's what I don't like about it, is the hypocrisy in it.
Yeah, like that's kind of the thing. Is like, I just don't understand wanting to like, if you don't want to participate, he's not. As far as I know, he wasn't asking anybody to participate physically. If he's working with his son, I don't understand what the problem was. So anyways, he got cited. I don't think he got fined. But basically he was accused of doing something he wasn't. And like, now, to me, that's kind of a problem too, because like, that's record. That's on record now. And, if you're not giving people the opportunity to say, hey, that I didn't do that, like, it shouldn't be something that's now on record. He's, if this happens again or whatever, like, he's forever on record as being somebody who didn't do what they were supposed to. And that's not right. But anyways, that's just kind of the backstory of kind of what spurred it on. So, he's been following the rules. We've all been following the rules of, not getting together and being open for business. Linda has been at my house, and she's, has her running business that she runs. So, and it's part of like our overall fitness that we have going. But, like this thing of, okay, you can't have a bunch of people in together rolling, or you can't have people, coming to your gym to work out. Like, I get all that. They didn't want people doing it, but I just don't understand I don't understand it. Anyways, so Rolando and some other people, the Georgetown MMA was on there. Gracie of Louisville, Gracie of Kentucky. There were 16?
Somerset.
Yeah,
There's
Somerset.
Just a lot of them.
We all got together and we put together a plan, because even in this fitness facility plan, like, we're 10 days away, they've given us no information. We have no idea. And this is also the problem, is like, how are you supposed to socially distance do jiu-jitsu? It's really kind of feels discriminatory against our small businesses. Like, not even to point out that, like, this small business, like, I'm a woman of color, and my business is basically not allowed to operate, and it feels very, like, singled out. That is, a big point, is we are very singled out and, like, not getting any consideration, almost discriminated against for our businesses, that they're not considering us at all. So, like, it's a real problem. So we come up with a good plan, so that we can operate our businesses. Obviously, most of us are intelligent. We came up with a good plan on how to do this and do it safely. It doesn't force anybody to do anything. And we put it out there for everybody to know, like, this is our plan moving forward. We hope that the community supports us. And since it released yesterday at noon? Let me check. Yeah, something like that. I'll check and see how many signatures it has.
Oh, the petition?
Yeah. Anyways, like, how do you feel about it?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
I liked the petition. I thought it put forth a safe plan. I fully supported it. I was excited to sign it. I was excited to see it out there. And of course I shared it. So I was very excited about it.
That's it. If you haven't seen it, Save Kentucky Jiu Jitsu. As of right now, it has 1,330 signatures from people all around that really feel like they want to save Kentucky Jiu Jitsu. So if you get an opportunity to go and support that, please do. Please sign. We did send in a letter outlining what our plan was, our plan of operation. We sent in our proposal and why we feel this is necessary, and what it does, like, even for our community. And I think that's the thing that, like, people forget. Like, a lot of what we do does do a lot to, like, build our community. You were talking about that last week, how many people, like, they don't have a lot of friends, they don't have a lot of people, now they're stuck at home and they've been, segregated away from their community, and they're struggling. Even here at 10th Planet Richmond, like, community is very important to me.
Yes.
I have my my women's only class that, I was awarded a grant from the state of Kentucky to help build my community. I've been given awards from Madison County's court system because, like, I want to build my community, and I offer programs for, drug court participants to come in here and be able to work out and, like, really build themselves and offer a sense of community to them, because that's the problem. Like, when you're stuck in, like, drugs and alcohol and things like that, like, mixed martial arts, number one, I think sometimes when you're, like, an extreme personality, and, like, Linda is an extreme personality, obviously.
I tried.
But she does, motorcycle racing. She does, like, marathons. She's gotten into MMA. And I think sometimes, like, you kind of feel like when you're out, like, amongst other people, like, wow, I don't really quite fit what the norm is. And so when you can get together with other people who don't feel like, it's like, instead of being like, oh, you're an idiot, it's more like, wow, that's amazing. And so you have this sense of community and people to be around. And I think that people who are in the programs for, like, drug and alcohol abuse, like, they kind of get that too. Is like, we had somebody come in not too long ago, and he was like, well, I'm very honest about the fact that I was on dope, and I just I want to get into something. And I'm like, you know what? Like, we don't care. As long as you show up and you train and you give it your all, like, you've not been recovered that long, so I'm not going to tell you where I live just in case. But, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck, like, what somebody's past mistakes are that they've made. And, that's one of the cool things about MMA that I've seen too, is I've actually been sitting ringside and somebody who mixed martial arts is changing their life, they fight, and they have to have like official sign their form to give to their probation officer as to why they were out at this time and out of county. And it was something that was accepted, like, and nobody thought anything about it, or like, it's like if you're trying to change your life, I think that martial arts is one of the great places where nobody is judging you secretly.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's wonderful about any kind of extreme sport, is that you develop a family. When you are at a martial arts gym, and especially fighters training or competitors training in general, jiu-jitsu is the same way. If you're training that hard with each other and you're that invested in each other's success, you become a family. And then all of a sudden you're taken away from your family. It's the same with running. That's why endurance athletes are so close to each other. And I imagine with serious lifting, it's the same way as well. When you're any sport, anytime that you get together with your family and you're that invested in each other, you're not just friends, you're family.
Yeah.
And I think it's difficult when that's taken away from you.
I was reading an article. I'm one of those people that like shares articles and stuff, but one of my pet peeves is like people who like share the article only based on the headline and they don't actually read it. That drives me nuts. Read the fucking article before you share it, because sometimes the actual point to the article headline is kind of like contrary to what they're actually trying to say. But anyways, like I was reading an article where I guess about 600 doctors, saw another article that said 500 are like putting a petition forth to Donald Trump to say, at this point, the deaths that are being caused by poverty due to suicide, drug overdose, and things like that are becoming more of a problem. People becoming alcoholics because they don't really have any way to function and cope. And that's kind of the problem with alcohol and drugs. It's like people don't get hooked on drugs and alcohol because it feels so good. People get hooked on drugs and alcohol because it's a coping mechanism for helping them deal with trauma. And I think Joe Rogan talked about like cigarettes and pot are not gateway drugs. Trauma is a gateway drug. And Michelle Day talks really good about like trauma. We'll have her on again soon, hopefully. But when people are suffering through trauma, like they need an outlet. And that's what these physical activities do, is they give you an outlet to experience and express, yourself. And there are a lot of things coming out talking about how people are not having that outlet. They're cooped up in their house. They're turning to alcohol or back to bad habits. And there was a girl specifically who she was about to graduate, and she had been in a program, but because she can't go to her meetings even, which is another sense of community, she ended up getting high, but because she had been clean for so long, she ended up overdosing. And saw another study that talked about how like the county was dealing with like 3 overdoses a day, and now they're dealing with like 15 or something. So whether you see it or not, or believe it or not, like it's having an effect, and there are a lot of people suffering. So hopefully some of you guys can understand that. Like the other point I had about the petition is Tyler Chrisman at Lee Kickboxing Academy down at Red River Gorge. He signed it.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to him. I said, hey, do you want to put your name on this petition? I know you're not jiu-jitsu, but you're a martial art, and like they're going to have a hard time. The kickboxing doesn't have as hard a time as jiu-jitsu, but they're, usually if it's a jiu-jitsu gym, they usually have some form of striking. Striking isn't as big in Kentucky as it is, like, say, in California. But, like, they're being affected, too. So, as a byproduct, MMA and boxing and striking and things are being affected. So, like, I'm hoping that if you even just have a fit facility for lifting weights, like you said, like, sign the petition, because it essentially does affect all of us. In some way, like these alternative forms of fitness. It's not just about jiu-jitsu necessarily, but it is about the community of alternative sports and alternative ways of working out.
And I'll say sports in general, because to be honest with you, I've seen a couple of petitions floating around, and as long as I read it and I agree with what they're trying to say and that it's safe, I'll sign it, because I support runners, I support swimmers, I support motorcycle racers, I support weightlifters, I support anything you want to do. I feel like if I want to do what I want to do out there, I think you should get to do what you want to do. So I'm going to support sports in general. If you want to go out there and play soccer and you have a good plan put in place to go play team soccer, and you've put a petition out there and it floats past I'm going to sign it for you. Heck yeah, and I hope you sign my jiu-jitsu petition.
Yeah, for sure. But it's out there, and like, so that was kind of the thing, is like, even if you go to an MMA gym that doesn't specifically have like jiu-jitsu classes, like, if they have jiu-jitsu classes, you don't participate, like, please sign it, because it does have an effect on all martial arts in the state of Kentucky. But it's just it's a wild time. I don't know.
And I do think a lot of what was in the petition will affect kickboxing gyms.
Oh, for sure. I said too, like, let's just say that you're not ready. You are a member of a gym, but you're not ready to go in. Okay, like, maybe you're ready to work out in the classes, like on the bag where you have space. Like, cool. Like, go in, get your workout on. Like, nobody's asking you to have contact with anybody. Matter of fact, I had to talk with like our members. We put it in a private group that said, don't get overzealous when you come in. And I think that's the thing, is like being mindful of the fact that everybody has different feelings on this. You need to be mindful of the fact that somebody might be really pushing themselves to get out in public, and while they might be in the facility, that doesn't mean that they're ready for you to touch them. Matter of fact, they have they are there, but it's causing them high anxiety. So, like, be thinking about how, like, you don't need to run up and hug them, because they might not be confident enough to tell you to, like, give them your space. And I think that's something that we all need to think about, is as much as it might seem silly, like, be thinking about how people do need their space. And if you have strong feelings about the fact that you think this is all bullshit, that's fine. Like, you and your buddies that think it's all bullshit can, like, get together and whatever, like, just don't get told on. But, like, there are people who are really getting high anxiety about getting out. So, like, try to be mindful of that, and, like, ask permission before you get in their space. And if they say no, don't be offended. That would be probably like the biggest advice that I would give somebody, is like, don't be offended if somebody doesn't want you in their space. Don't you think?
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, you might not think that we need to be getting together in these gyms anyways. And I understand that, but I'm of the opinion of, whether you like it or not, no matter what your opinion is like, there are people out there that are doing it anyways. And with the phases and the plans that we put out in that petition, like, it's going to be much more safe than if somebody just gets together with their buddy in their backyard. And whether you like it or not, people are doing it anyways. So at least let them come in to where somebody who's older. Oh God, that hurt my heart to say it.
I'm thinking about the comparison of like your teenager drinking. Just let them do it safely where they're not with their friends driving home.
We do not condone alcohol consumption with the word teenager. I get what you're saying, though. Like, at least if you're going to do it safely. Yes. At least if they're going to do it safely. Because whether you like it or not, people are out there probably doing it in unsafe manners. So that would be my thing, too, is like, if you can sign it, like, take those things into consideration. But anyways, the link is in the comments. So if you have any opinions on that, please feel free to click on the link and come on and talk to us about it. Otherwise, like, it's Memorial Day weekend. What are your big plans?
I have no plans. I'm going to relax. I am a little curious on, like, you see all these pro jiu-jitsu tournaments starting to pop up.
Yeah.
Submission Underground's been doing
yes.
it, but there's more and more starting to pop up, and with even social distance training, how are the pros going to start to get in their
Well, I
proper
mean,
training?
The fucking UFC is having fights every week.
Yeah, fights are starting to pop up. Other pro organizations are going to start to do fights because as tournaments are not, as they're not able to do amateur tournaments, you wouldn't think.
Yeah.
Pro fighting and pro jiu-jitsu are going to start to get more and more popular. How are you going to get in proper fight camps and proper training?
Yeah.
With social distancing continuing.
Yeah.
How that puts certain fighters at such an advantage, I guess, the ones in certain states where there is no social distancing already in gyms. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, like that's kind of the thing is like you have the UFC putting fights together like every weekend now, and like how are those fighters training? And you know, like we do have a disparity of like Kentucky has not even had that many cases yet we're like one of the most locked down states, but then you got people who are down in Florida fighting fights.
Yeah. So do our fighters just sit back and
Miss out on
and
opportunity?
do knee
Yeah.
pommel drills until we're told that we can start training again, because it takes 6 to 8 weeks to go through a fight camp? And so I was just, those are things to think about.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they would be like tough shit, but I don't know. I saw, like you said, Submission Underground has been having events since this all started. And they're out in Oregon, which has some pretty strict laws.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're managing that, but it's pretty awesome. I saw Grappling Industries made a post, and they wanted to know how you felt, like from their people who were watching it. They wanted to know how we felt going forward, how they wanted things to look, and like of course right away 10 people commented like nothing, they don't think anything needs to be changed, but like I don't know what needs to be changed,
because I'm curious how they would close an amateur event, a tournament style where just everybody's going in, but the pro events they can be very controlled. They've proven that they can be very controlled, so they're continuing to move forward, and a lot of states are just training. They're going back to training just as they are on a regular basis. So
yeah,
I just think
that's wild. Like I don't even know what to think. Like I don't know how that would do it. I mean, like what would be really cool, I think, if they were going to try and host an event, this is just my opinion, if like right now you were Grappling Industries and you were going to hold an event, I wouldn't do anything indoors. I would just have it outside.
Yeah.
I would have it outside in open air, and open air event where spectators can come. You have it fenced off. Like I would find a venue where I could have an open air, like people could sit in the bleachers and watch. Like,
but then I guess you think of an event like Grappling Industries. I wonder how many people are in that building. Is Indiana? What's Indiana's cap about to start this week? Is like groups of it's over 100. I know
is it
that.
really? Wow.
Is it? I wanted to say there's a group. It's well over 100. They're starting to be states that are allowing quite large groups, and there are some states that by July are going to have no restrictions. By the 4th of July, no restrictions on amounts of groups or anything like that. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we are going to start to be going down to, maybe I'm going to go to Indiana and do a grappling tournament with 1,000 people. And here I am in Kentucky, not even able to train with a group of 10.
Yeah, like that's kind of wild. I don't know.
I don't understand. And why is it? What's the point?
Would you be comfortable going to a venue that had 1,000 people there?
No, in reality, probably not. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there is people that will.
COVID cooties.
There's people that will,
Yeah,
and
there
there's
are.
people that can. And I'm just wondering, and do you know what? When you start to get desperate to get to roll, that's where you were talking about, maybe it should be allowed and be controlled a little bit better, because you're having places that are not that far away that are so open. It's opening up the temptation very quickly, which we're already seeing in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Where you can just go down to Tennessee and train.
Just drive down and train. I'm wondering how many people like down in Tennessee though, like how many people are like, no, we're not accepting any outsiders, because that's going to be my problem as a business owner. Like, I'm not going to be comfortable having too much cross training at first, because, and not because of me, but like it's going to be for my members. Like, I don't want to make my members uncomfortable. Like, that's going to be very difficult. But anyways, no, I don't think that I would go to an event that had 1,000 people. Like, while I'm not scared, maybe I'm a little scared. No COVID cooties for me. But anyways, if nobody's going to come on and join us today, we really don't have a whole lot to talk about other than we have 10 days before everything kind of starts back up. Let us know how your training's going. Be sure to follow Bluegrass Women's Jiu Jitsu Club. Try to stay away from 1,000 people venues. Advice.
Or at least stay away from the contract tracers.
Oh. So I run my mouth a lot online. And but I think that most people know that I'm also like easy to talk to. Like, I'm very reasonable to talk to. But man, I posted this article that said contract tracers are coming to Kentucky, and I said snitches get stitches, but it was a laughy face. It was funny, right? Like, so all of a sudden people started posting like fucking they're Nazis, and I was like,
No, I thought it was funny. Nazis aren't funny. That's what I always think. I stop posting funny stuff because Nazis aren't funny.
Nazis aren't funny. Calm down. You went from like haha to like
Yeah.
so. One of my friends, and you know, like, I'm very vocal about how I feel, obviously, about kind of all this stuff, and that I'm very indifferent. Like, I'm not sure. That's kind of been my stance all along. Is like, my problem is not that I feel like this is bullshit or that it's not. My problem is like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I want to be cautious, but I also want to live my life a little bit. So like, don't know. The one thing that I think is like more than anything is like, there's no way that this isn't serious when the entire world is going through it at the same time. Like, there's something there. I don't think we should be treating all areas the same. So like, people start commenting like Nazis, and then my friend writes me and they're like, I just wanted to offer you a different perspective, but I also didn't want people calling me a Nazi. I'm like, sorry. I appreciate your perspective, because I do respect other people's opinions and perspectives and things like that. But they're like, I don't like to get online and post up because people start calling me a Nazi. I'm like, I know. For some reason,
Online's a very scary world.
I'm telling you, it's like Facebook is wild, bro. Like, I had somebody write me again because I posted that CDC has announced guidelines for what they think is appropriate for starting school. And I'm like, no, like, if this is kind of the outline, like, my kid's going to be homeschooled again. And like, his granny, who's his actual dad's mom, she was like, have you followed anything that the CDC guidelines have proposed? No, then you need to wait till the following year. And I was just like, well, okay. But for me, this is my opinion. Like, the CDC has their guidelines or whatever. If we minimally follow even what our governor has said, wear a mask. Like, no, I'm not sending my kid to school like that. Why would I? Like, why would I send him to school with a mask 8 hours a day when he can sit at my home and do the same work? Uh-oh. It's in the broadcast.
Was that Kevin James movie? I have a sneezer right in front of me.
But kind of my argument to that was, when you're sending kids off to uncertainty, and you know, I'm an educator, obviously, So one of the things that we know that kids crave and need is structure. Structure is very important. Structure is important to you.
Very important to me.
Like, structure is important to all of us. Structure is what makes you feel safe. And when we don't have structure or certainty, then it gives us a very much a feeling of not feeling safe, right? That's just a fact. So if you're sending your kid to school with uncertainty, they can't be focused. They don't feel safe. And it's just really not conducive to the learning environment when everything is so rigid. And the mask in itself, like, what does that mean? It's like, well, that's just to protect us, like if you were asymptomatic. I get that. But when we're walking around with these masks over our face, that's also another sign that our safety, like we're not safe. You know what I'm saying? It's a symbol of the fact that there's not safety here, which is why they want you to wear them at grocery stores, and they want you to wear them when you're out in public, because it is unsafe. It is unsafe. Somewhere here, somebody probably has it, just by statistics and numbers. So when you're sending your kid to school, the teacher's wearing a mask. Maybe they have to have a mask just in case, or they have to wear it. Like, what you're saying to them is that this is an unsafe environment. And I don't feel like, I understand that some people don't have the option not to send their kids to school. But there are some of us who like have the option not to make our kids go to school in that environment. And for me personally, if this is where we're at, even at a minimal suggestion by our own governor has been that we wear a mask until there's a vaccine. He feels it is unsafe until we have a vaccine. And so I don't see the point in sending your child off to an unsafe environment if you don't have to wear a mask all day. Now, if you don't have another option, like, I get that. I definitely think you're going to have to sit down with your family and discuss why that is the way it is. It's going to take some communication. And for some people, like we talked about with learning disabilities, like, they're not going to learn at home. My kid can learn at home.
Yeah.
He can learn at home, and he can be comfortable learning at home. But if it's not necessary to send them somewhere where there is going to be that distraction, like, I don't think you should do it. Like, and that's just my personal opinion. So anyways, somebody wrote me and it's like, I saw you posted this the other day. And I just wanted you to know that there's a lot of misinformation out there, and some of this wasn't true. And it's like, thank you. Thank you. So I have people that write me privately to kind of dispute some of the things I post. But I think it's because they know I'm not going to like jump all over them. And it's kind of nice. Like, it is kind of a nice thing for somebody to say, hey, you're a little bit wrong. And I think it's so people could understand, like, when somebody is like, it seems combative, like, and I told her that. I'm like, I know it probably like it's like if you write people and tell them your opinion, that probably seems very combative. But I really appreciate the fact that you care and are concerned to want to ease my worries about this list. But in the reality, the list isn't what I'm not worried about him having to sit 6 feet away or how manageable all it is. My big concern is about the message that we're sending kids to school with the mask on. Is, I just don't feel like that's a good learning environment. She understood that, and I thanked her. But I think that it would do all of us some good to like really think about when somebody comes to your Facebook page or somebody like puts up another perspective, unless they're just like, look, dickhead, you're a stupid motherfucker. It should be important for you to like listen to their perspective, understand it, and understand that like all of our perspectives come from their life experiences. Like, my life experience has been very different from Linda's, but also similar enough that we have a very similar viewpoint. And so we agree on a lot of things. But we're also not like these dumb motherfuckers out here, like, not willing to exercise. Like, do I think that they should be exercising? Sure, I think that. But if they have their reasons for it, whatever that may be, like, okay, I get it. And like, just don't call people stupid. Like, just understand that their perspective is for another reason. Does that make sense?
Although with running, I don't think there's ever an excuse to not run. Everybody should be running.
I try. I try all the time. Anyways, guys, food for thought. Friday was a lot of mindfulness. I think a lot of thinking about things and putting things in perspective. So a lot of our opinion, I guess. Things to think about. Things to think about when you go back into training. Things to think about when you interact with people in your everyday life. And also, get off your ass and work out. later. Well, if I can get out of here.